Hi, happy souls. This is Somain here. I would like to tell you that I'm starting with a podcast series where I will be talking about self realization, manifestation, meditation techniques, meditation versus Tantra, which is largely about self acceptance and breathing techniques. What is soul? What is the purpose of soul? And many more things. The idea of this podcast series is to understand that there is a journey which starts with I am, a part of which is largely your ego, to that of towards I am not. When you say that I am not the ego, I am not the senses, and I am not the body and mind, is when we start realizing that we are very distinct from what we see, what we hear, what we read while our brain is about to answer something. And that is when the path of spirituality starts with. The podcast series is going to cover a lot of questions. It will be a kind of a question and answer. I would do self-questioning, self-introspection, and I would try to answer those. These are not just basis what I have been reading of late. And let me tell you that COVID-19 have proved very beneficial to start this journey, a self journey, of not just knowledge but also experiences. So this is purely based upon the knowledge which I have been gathering on a daily basis, but also my experimentation with that knowledge. Very important that you know that the experiences are not just in form of an action, but thinking about those techniques, thinking about those knowledge which is there available, contemplating, asking right question is also a part of an experience, because unless we ask right questions, unless we read all school of thoughts on a specific subject, we'll not be able to answer or understand what it is about. I was just going through one of a very spiritual book which is large, talks about that it's not important that we ask the questions which are of someone else, but it is important that we ask questions which are related to ourselves, because unless we ask questions which are related to ourselves, it can never be our journey. Everyone has their own journey and everyone has to walk our own paths. Now those paths can lead to different outcomes, but everyone has a distinct journey. So I am very happy to start with it. I would just run you through the kind of topics which I'm going to cover, and you can look forward for my small bites, 1 to maximum 2 minutes bites, which I would be doing on each. I'll be very happy to address to your questions. If at all you have questions, you can go and write to me on the email address which is given below on the podcast screen. You can also hit the website and leave a comment or a question for me. I'll be very happy to address it basis my experiences and knowledge. So the basic questions which I would try to address here is, of course, what is spirituality? How does it differ from religion? That is something which we would address to. What is self-realization? Why self-realization? Is self-realization the end or just the start? Is self-realization same as self-liberation? Is liberation an important part of spiritual journey? Can one be spiritual enough while living in a worldly life? From whom or what one should learn the path of spirituality? Is spirituality an answer to all ends? Especially, is spirituality an answer to the miseries which each one of us face? What is misery, and why are people miserable and unhappy then? How can spirituality help overcoming misery? What is the concept of I am versus I am not? How can one see or experience the soul? Are there any distinct characteristics of soul? If soul is not I, not senses, not mind, body, how can soul be responsible for the karmas of the senses, body and mind, etc.? What is the basis of the purpose of soul? Can someone explain soul in a scientific way? Is there any way to explain the phenomena of soul, or so-called I am not, or so-called consciousness, or the energy which is beyond? Is soul conscience or subconscious? Are they same? If soul is I am not and ego, senses, body, brain is I, can a concept of observer and observed, which is part of the theory of quantum physics, hold true? Can we correlate I am not, the conscious, the superconscious, with the theory of quantum physics? Is the theory of quantum physics and the presence of eternal soul a reality? does it mean that manifestation is also a truth? If manifestation is truth, how self-realization can help us manifest what we want? And what are the things we should manifest to stay aligned with the purpose of soul, the purpose of self? What would be the techniques of manifestations in that case? Is manifestation a technique which is largely driven by meditation, or it is otherwise? What is meditation and how does it differ from Tantra, a technique of accepting oneself and focusing on breathing? So guys, these are few topics which I was able to put it down, and I would start my bites on it. I will keep adding more relevant things, more soulful things. I would also be happy to cover any specific topics which you might have questions for. Look forward to make it a conversation not just with myself but to each one of you happy souls. Thank you again. Thank you.